Thank you all so much for joining us today, CareAcademy, to hear about our latest class and content updates. I'm very excited. My name is Becky Harrington-Davis. I'm your host. Unfortunately, my Zoom doesn't work well with my camera, so I will be camera off. But I'm very excited to be with Andrew and Aislinn from our learning design team, and they will share some of the latest content we have for you. Just a couple of housekeeping items here before we get started. This webinar is being recorded. The recording will be shared after the webinar. You will receive an email with that. And as far as Q&A, please use the Q&A function in Zoom to put any questions you have, and we will take those questions at the end of the webinar. Before I jump into a little bit about CareAcademy, I just want to check who's in the room. So if you wouldn't mind, could you tell us, are you a current CareAcademy customer? Looks like, thank you. Looks like most people are. We have 73% about our current CareAcademy customers. So thank you for joining. And glad you'll get to hear about this new content that we have available. And for those who are new to CareAcademy, I'm just going to give you a real quick introduction. CareAcademy is a caregiver enablement platform delivering better outcomes. We offer curated clinical and non-clinical education. We offer learning on the go. Learners can do their training on any device at anywhere, anytime. And we offer things like reminder texts in order to help increase class completions. Our administrative platform has simple class assignment and tracking. We have real-time data and reporting for your audit-ready reports. And we offer admin and caregiver support from our wonderful customer success team. We have trained over 500,000 workers, and our platform is accessible and engaging for caregivers. It meets state training requirements, and our solution helps you throughout the process of recruiting, onboarding, and upskilling, retaining caregivers, and measuring outcomes. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Andrew, Senior Manager of Learning Design and Development, to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Becky. So my name is Andrew Mantuano. I've been with CareAcademy for just over three years now. Just to kind of distill this text wall here on screen, my primary goal at CareAcademy is to ensure that our training is high quality and engaging and accessible. So with the end objective of providing better learning experiences that lead to better learning outcomes, and ultimately having the goal of improving care for clients who are receiving that care. Looking forward to sharing more about our new content today. And with that, I'll pass it over to my very talented colleague, Aislinn Lowrey, to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Aislinn Lowrey. Thanks, Andrew. And I've been with CareAcademy for just over 2 years. And I have similar goals of just creating the most informative and engaging content that we can. That's mobile ready. And so, yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Aislinn. And then Andrew, could you give us an overview of our content library?
Absolutely. So knowing that 70% of you are already our customers, hopefully this isn't too much of a rehashing of existing knowledge, but just wanted to highlight some of what makes CareAcademy training best in class and so special. So our team really adheres to what we call our content guiding principles. So this really means that we focus on creating competency-based training, ensuring that we're always focusing on how caregivers and other learners can advance their knowledge and their careers. Making sure that our training portrays relevant information and scenarios for whoever's taking it. Engaging. We all know that stagnant click-through PowerPoints are boring and probably won't lead to great learning outcomes. So we keep that, in our hearts when we're working on creating our training. Lastly, making sure that it is supportive and accessible for all who complete our training. As Becky mentioned before, we really focus on putting our training mobile first, so that we understand our learners are on the go. In some cases, they may not have a computer, so making sure that they can have a really excellent training experience on their mobile device. Our training is available in multiple languages. I'm really excited to share that very soon we'll have our full Spanish experience, meaning that learners will be able to experience a platform that's translated in Spanish, but also fully translated learning content. So from start to finish. We also have specific content that is translated in Hindi, Russian, Korean, and Vietnamese as well. Our training is informed by subject matter experts. So we really rely heavily on our wonderful in-house nurse educator, Aislinn Ware, to make sure that our content is clinically accurate from inception through to completion, but also on an ongoing maintenance basis. Last point here, we really lean heavily into video-based training. We know that our learners think that is an engaging format for them, and that allows us to really center in on scenario-based learning, showing correct and incorrect examples, using story, narrative, characters to really bring the content to life that might otherwise just be kind of stagnant. We can go on to the next one, Becky. Thank you. And again, knowing that many of you are already existing customers, won't spend too much time on this slide, but just want to give a brief overview of our library as a whole. So our offerings really span the long-term care continuum, from different job roles, different instructional formats. Really have something for everyone here. So that includes over 620 hours of training contents. We have our federal HHA program, our nursing CEUs, our admin CEUs. Anything that you have a question about on this page, feel free to chime in on the Q&A. I think I'll pick the skills video library to highlight today. So that is a library of what we call micro learning videos or moment learning videos. So this allows a learner to kind of get a refresher or just targeted skills training on a very specific topic or skill. So let's say I'm a caregiver who it's been a while since I've performed a specific kind of transfer. So our skills library allows that learner to pull that specific video up, watch that 3-minute video, and now they are feeling really well prepared and confident to perform that care for their clients. Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next one, Becky.
So now we will talk about some of our classes, our newest content, and starting with cybersecurity. And so, Andrew, could you start by telling us about cybersecurity and why this is an important topic for caregivers and administrative staff?
Sure, absolutely. And I think it's kind of it's treading new ground for us. I'm sure when you think about CareAcademy, you don't cybersecurity probably doesn't come to mind. But it's something that's really important for really everyone to be well versed in, not only aware, but know the the baseline tips and strategies for staying safe, keeping their loved ones safe, and also their organizations. So we know that cyber attacks they're getting more complex and harder to detect. I'm sure you all get those really easy peasy emails, the spot that might have click here and it's from some random email address. But there's also the ones that are highly personalized, that might be from an email address that looks like it's from your CEO or your daughter or your softball team captain, who knows. And it's saying, hey, can you look into this for me? Can you click this link and can you open up this attachment? I need your input, or something along those lines. It's very convincing. So there's a lot of these very important skills that we all need to be well versed in order to stay safe. And older adults are a population that are particularly vulnerable to some of these scams now. So CareAcademy has really taken this mission to heart, and offered a number of classes that focus on teaching these skills to caregivers, so that caregivers can also educate their clients, but also office staff and administrators, so that they can mitigate the risk of a security breach that can have some pretty devastating consequences. So the first class I'll talk about, or I'll share with you, is our class called Staying Safe Online, Protecting Yourself and Your Clients. It's a pretty descriptive and accurate title, but this class centers around teaching caregivers the skills they need to stay safe amidst all these scams, and also gives them the ability and the tips for educating their clients so that they stay safe. And because showing is a bit better than telling in most cases, I'd like to show actually a really wonderful promo video that Aislinn created. We are running into some technical problems right now in terms of the sound on our videos, but I'll do my best to kind of narrate as we go, because I know the volume from my computer speakers is not going to be very pleasing for anyone to listen to. But this video essentially shows some of the intent behind the class and some of the interactions that go on. So one of our core tenets at CareAcademy for our training team is to have a very highly visual style. It's one of those, goes along with engaging training, having very practical examples that are relevant to caregivers and their clients. Okay, and then I'll jump right into one of the actual example lessons within this class. So as I was alluding to before, phishing emails, phishing phone calls, or I guess they call them phishing attacks as well. Very common, very dangerous, and they're getting more complex as time goes on. So what we focus on here is giving very practical tips, how to recognize the signs, the telltale signs of a phishing email. Getting into kind of an interactive here where the learner can say, all right, well, what is so fishy about this, this right here? Let's say urgent. It's urging me. It's urging me to take action right now. It's creating that sense of urgency. There's a link here that is a suspicious URL. So very practical tips, easy to understand. And our aim here is also that this is easy to then teach to from the caregiver to the client, so that there can be that kind of exchange as well. Let's see. So also I wanted to just pull off and emphasize that in our training design, we're not just focusing on, a lecture-based approach where there's a block of text and you're supposed to absorb this. We don't believe that learners are just empty vessels where we're pouring in a gallon of knowledge. So we really emphasize the importance of practice opportunities, and you'll see this later when Aislinn shares another new class we've released. But this is just a quick example of, within our lessons, we have knowledge checks that will really have the learner reflect on what they just, the information that they just received in the previous screen, in order to, get feedback and continue building on that knowledge moving throughout the class. All right, and I do have one more class to talk about with regards to cybersecurity. It is called Cybersecurity Basics, and again, we have a promo video for that as well. But just to set the stage for this class, Whereas the other class was more geared towards caregivers and clients, this class is specifically tailored for office staff and administrators. So I think it's fairly common these days across organizations of all types to have some form of ongoing security awareness training. So this class would be a great fit for that purpose. It would be for anyone who is using or accessing organizational systems, has access to client data. There's actually a study that I used to cite back in the day. I created security awareness training for a while, that 90% of all security breaches were due to human error. And that's a pretty stark figure, but it just goes to show how important it can be to focus on, securing, humans and teaching those good positive behaviors that can prevent those attacks. Just gonna press play on this real quick and some narration.
In a world where cyber threats are every
So similar to the caregiver and client focused class, this will give an overview of the different types of cybersecurity attacks, how to strategies for recognizing them and preventing them, how to create a secure password. Something as seemingly simple as creating a 9-character password. It's just knowing some really quick and memorable tips can go a long way in helping to secure your organization. And just to show a quick example from that class, this refreshed on me. Okay, so emphasizing the story-based approach. So here we have an example of a agency employee, SE, who was on the hunt for a new printer for their agency. They, conducted the search, bought the printer, and went on with their day. Turns out that the website they bought that printer from was a fraudulent website. She's not going to get her printer. She's just going to have her credit card information hacked. So going through that scenario, learning the tips to prevent that's really what we're focusing on here in this class. Cool. I'm just going to pivot back here. And all right, I think I'm ready to pass it over to, one more quick plug. So October is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I think that could be an excellent time to raise cybersecurity awareness concerns with your caregivers and with your staff, and might also be an excellent time to roll out additional training using these classes. All right, now I will stop sharing and pass it over to Aislinn.
Hi, thank you. Becky, can you actually share the presentation again?
Thank you so much, Andrew. Really fascinating and extremely relevant. I know that how much of a problem cybersecurity can be. And the grandmother example, the grandmother that's saying, "Oh no, my granddaughter is stuck in Europe." That happened to my grandmother once, and she called me saying, "Are you okay?" So that's a really accurate scenario that can really happen. So next we're going to talk about problem solving. And Aislinn, can you tell us about the topic here? What does problem solving mean for caregivers, and why is this an important skill?
Yeah, so we decided to make the problem solving for caregivers class, or for direct care workers, to help caregivers really with any size of problem that they're faced with. So they're often faced with problems that they have to work with clients individually, client families, administrators. to solve. And sometimes they can feel overwhelmed by having to make the decisions, whether it's dealing with client behavior, supply shortages, agitation, aggression. So this class was designed to really help give caregivers tools to work through problems in a methodical process, just to help increase confidence and just really just give them a tool that they can refer back to.
Fantastic. And could you tell us some more specifically about the class? And I will stop sharing so you can show it off a bit for us.
Can you share just the next slide? Because I'll share, there's one slide right after, and then I'll take over the screen. Just to give a little bit of an overview. Yeah, just to help explain how the course is structured. So this course in particular is in 2 lessons. So it's designed kind of with some scaffolding in mind, allowing caregivers to kind of practice as much as they can within an e-learning, because while we all face a lot of problems and problem solving throughout the day, it's really helpful to actually practice while being taught the steps. So the first lesson is more of a guide, but it still gives learners active role to play. And so the second lesson, so the first lesson you can see, and I'll show you actually a little bit of that video, and then just show you a little bit of how that lesson is structured. And then the second lesson is, it provides you another scenario, but it actually gives the learners more of a driver's seat, where they respond a lot more actively and decide which steps come next, and actually go through the problem solving to help with the particular scenario. So now I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen. Let's see. Okay, so this is part of lesson 1. Lesson 1 begins by asking learners to reflect on their own experiences, problem solving, and just, it helps to get people thinking about, like, what emotions have they felt? Have they felt overwhelmed, confident, nervous, that they're not making the right decision for their client, etc. So, and then it's broken into videos throughout. So it's like videos and then information, and then some opportunities for caregivers to respond and kind of decide with the information. So here's one of the first videos, which I don't think the audio. So basically, it's showing part of the scenario. It's the videos in the first lesson are actually walking through the caregiver, what they would do to solve the problem, work on solving the problem through the 5 steps that are presented within the whole entire class. And so this is actually showing the active scenario where the client is facing the issue, and it's a behavior issue. And so this helps caregivers see firsthand what are some ways that they could ask to get to the bottom of, or to get more to the root of our problem when solving. Then further in the lesson is we're using knowledge checks, but not really in the form of knowledge checks, more so as an active questions to help engage the learner and see, like, okay, well, how do you think this should be handled? And then there's feedback based on the response so that it's reinforced. And so that's the first lesson. And the second lesson, it begins by presenting learners with the new scenario. And so the problem is transportation. The client is, the transportation is not being super reliable. And so it's a realistic problem that caregivers may have faced or may face in the future. And so the purpose of this lesson is really to more so allow the caregiver to actually walk through the problem using the steps taught in lesson 1. And so here's one of the lessons, and again, it's just very, very much putting the learners in the position to actively think about how they would go about solving this problem. And yeah, so that is the overview of problem solving.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Aislinn. And lastly, I will share this slide. We are talking about state-specific regulatory requirements. And as we all know, I'm sure on this call, state requirements change frequently. Andrew, can you tell us about how CareAcademy stays on top of this to help agencies stay in compliance?
Oh, absolutely, Becky. So CareAcademy has a multi-pronged approach to make sure that our training is staying compliant, so that you can in turn offer a fully compliant training solution. First and foremost, we have an in-house compliance and policy development team, and they are extremely adept at kind of digging through the regulations, actively performing research to stay abreast of these changes, so that the content team can then be prioritized accordingly. The team also regularly attends industry conversations and conferences that focus on regulatory changes. So we stay abreast in that manner. And last but not least, which is probably my favorites of 3, is talking to you all. So we regularly reach out to customers to talk about your needs, like what's working for you with CareAcademy, what's challenging, how can we do what we do better. And in these conversations, sometimes the regulatory changes come up, and we can then respond accordingly. So, and that's kind of what happens in this most recent slew of offerings for our New York State supplements here, which I'll touch on pretty briefly. So the first one listed here on screen is a new training offering for sexual harassment prevention, specifically for New York State's, but for non-care staff. So right now, CareAcademy has a fully compliant solution for sexual harassment prevention training. It includes our class that is more geared towards caregivers. So we found a fairly, efficient way to create a new offering that is now role agnostic. So really appropriate for staff and supervisors in New York State. For the law on HIV testing and confidentiality supplements, this offers a fully compliant solution for New York PCAs that covers Article 27. This was pretty quick turnaround process. Just an example of, CareAcademy is, we aim to be very responsive to regulatory changes and customer needs. And actually, wanted to quickly comment back onto the problem solving class. We do have an offering that's currently covers problem solving training requirements for states, but we felt that, okay, we want to add more breadth and depth to our library around this very important topic, which Aislinn explained beautifully. So we're constantly updating our library. We're constantly making it stronger and more robust for you and your learners. Jumping back to state-specific training, the Pennsylvania Direct Care Worker Competency Exam. This is an exam that's it covers all of the required topics for Pennsylvania home care direct care workers, allowing them to essentially take this test, and upon passing, they will be eligible to begin offering services to clients. It's worth noting that CareAcademy offers a completely online training program that covers all of those topics as well. So in the event that a caregiver either doesn't pass the exam, or they pass, but maybe they they got maybe one or two questions wrong around a specific competency. We have training content available that you would then be able to assign that class, that relevant class for that skill to the caregiver to ensure that they get that extra kind of remediation or prove their competency on that topic. Okay, I think that's it for state-specific training. Yeah, I think we're ready for any questions that y'all might have at this time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. And I do see a number of questions that have come in here in the Q&A. So for anyone else, if you'd like to add a question about any of these topics or our content library or CareAcademy, please feel free to put them in the Q&A here. First one we have here from Lee is, what's the name of the course for admin team members? Andrew, can you answer that?
Sure. Lee, that was called Cybersecurity Basics, Care 212. And I saw someone had asked for a full list of the new topics. I wonder if we can just include that class with the rest of the list and send it out to attendees after the call.
Absolutely. We will, when we send out the recording, we'll also include a list of all the new classes that we've discussed.
Awesome. Very cool.
Thank you. All right, next question we have is from Dorcas. Do you have a template for an assessment or written exam for new hire caregivers?
We do not currently, Dorcas, and I'd be interested to know or hear more context for that. If you're able to type in the chats, or we can connect afterwards, but right now that's not something we currently offer. But I will preface that because I'm seeing a lot of content related questions here, or topic related questions, or different products, so to speak. If we don't currently offer something, we are always up for receiving these requests and digging into them, seeing where they might fall on our content development roadmap. So if you have the slightest inkling to ask your question about a topic you're interested in that you might not see in our library currently, or that is related to something we talked about today but not quite, please do chime in. We'll catalog and look into all of these requests here.
Thanks, Andrew. Another question is, do we have any updates on when we'll have a curriculum for RCFE caregivers in California?
That is a good question. And I see, Dorcas, that's something we are currently tracking as well on our roadmap. Not any update that I can share with you today, but I'm going to make a note to follow up with our compliance team to see where we are with that, and I can circle back with you after the call.
Thank you. All right, now we have a question from Terry asking, I'm looking for a critical incident class. Do we have one of these, and is it a state-specific course?
Incident class. I don't believe so, Terry. Ashlyn, does anything ring a bell on your end? No, Ashlyn.
Well, the closest thing that I could think of is the observation, reporting, and documentation classes. So serve that need. They're not free.
Sorry, Terry, I just saw Terry also clarified critical incident reporting. So I wonder if that one might suit the need.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I can include the class views in the title. That would be helpful.
Yeah. How about let's see. We will follow up afterwards with the that particular class, the details, potentially the class outline, to see if it would meet your needs for critical incident reporting.
Well, thank you. All right, Andrea asks, since you had the training for caregivers and clients, is that training still available to check out, see, or share?
Oh, is that the I think you're referring to the security.
Cybersecurity.
Right, right. We would be happy to share out the there's going to be the recording of this webinar, obviously, but happy to share out the promo video that we also showed that will have kind of the it'll have the sound, thankfully, but also, you know, give highlights about the content covered in it and some of the interactions that are included in that class.
Perfect. And Anare asks, is CareAcademy recognized by the state of California?
Recognized. I would, do you have any more context to that, Nare? It might be more helpful to throw that to our compliance and policy development team. I will frame that question to them after the webinar, and I can get more information about that.
Thank you. And Anne asks, are there state-specific classes for every state?
Great question. For the most part, at CareAcademy, we aim to have offerings that are, you know, broadly applicable to roles. So we often create state-specific classes if it is, you know, if it's going to be a fairly, you know, quick lift to create, if it's a very, you know, state-specific program that's, you know, is going to be more of a, it's going to be more of a project. That will be certainly under consideration. It's just something that is something we can either amend to a current class, or you know, makes sense to develop a, you know, a micro solution that would be more likely to be released. But overall, no, we don't have generally like state-specific classes for, you know, all 50 states. Trying to be as broadly applicable as possible.
And Mike asks, do you have a generic competency exam for direct care workers that is not state-specific?
It's a great question, Mark. I'd be curious. We do not, but curious to know more about that use case. There are various competency exams from across various states that we are looking into offering, and I know they each have specific requirements, as well as stipulations for you as, you know, an agency owner admin. But in terms of a generic competency exam, I would say it's something I'd be interested in talking more about. We have a very broad library of assessment questions that's, as I mentioned before, created in collaboration with you know, industry and healthcare experts in our instructional design team. So it's kind of like a wealth of gold in terms of assessment questions that it could be valuable to have a more generic director worker exam. But yeah, I'm going to log that as a request in our system, Mark, and dig into that.
Thank you. And last question on here is from Lynn. Home health need 12 hours of CEUs yearly. Does Washington State recognize these courses, and will they count towards CEU requirements?
That is a great question, Lynn. So are you asking about these courses that we shared about today? In that case, they do not currently. So CareAcademy is very vigilant about following approval processes and getting those, going through the proper channels with state approval boards. If our classes meet the thresholds for mostly time requirements for state approvals, then ultimately they will be submitted to Washington, actually. So more to come on that, Lynn. At this moment, no, but perhaps in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That is all of our questions. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for everyone for submitting your questions. We really appreciate the chance to share this information with you. And thank you so much, Andrew and Aislinn, for sharing our wonderful new classes. I will share out this recording to all who registered. So please feel free to share that around with your colleagues and let us know if you have any additional questions. We will also look into the questions that folks have asked here to follow up. So thanks again. Everyone have a great rest of your week, and thanks for coming.
Thanks all.
Thank you.